my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me in. Gonna play that. Take you down, I'ma say that. Money, me, $2. Telling you now, this payback. So I pay that. Ask them now, what's sage at? I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. But I'm on that. All these men gonna zone out. And all these men gonna take what I did and they twist and they work till I fall out. But I know that, so I keep what I'm doing cause I own that. And I stay in the lab and I kill everything, but I don't ever move, I'm a Kodak. So finally back in my home. I'm working and I saw no other that's trying to have me a clone. It's my soul now, just leave it there, that's home. Ballin', can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now.
Having a great strap, an almost banging wheel.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
Don't get greedy now, mate. Let's go, settle down.
What does it take to win? Is it something you're born with? Is it the grind? Every day. Gear up. Do battle. For the 10,000th time. Or is it pushing to your absolute limits? To be faster. Always faster. Insanely precise. Totally free and at one with the game. Or maybe it's just getting to that place where nothing else matters. Nothing in the way of winning.
(3-1) defeat to XVG 2CP. A very close game between those two teams to introduce the first round from our Group D. Our second round is coming up now with the second two teams from Group D as well. Risen versus Overwatch Cubs. I am Ultraism. Joining me here is Mish and Blur. Blur, how are you enjoying the tournament so far?
I think the first game we saw was really, really good, really close game. Could have gone either way in a lot of those team fights, but TCP just managing to show a little bit more. Very, very excited for what these teams have to show today.
Should be very interesting. And now Mish with 7 eyes. How are you doing? You've been around in Overwatch for a long time.
Yeah, you know, like having been in the scene for 2 or 3 years, having captained a team that did, I'd like to say, respectively well. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back, and it's good to be on a panel that's talking about like the next step of South African Overwatch.
Well, the next step it is indeed, as we've seen so many games played already today, some really, really good games so far, but pretty one-sided across most of the brackets so far. ATK taking a 3-0 defeat, 3-0 victory. Sorry, that would have been an upset over Re-Ace Legion. Beastie Boys and Vanguard both taking 3-0s in Group B. We saw Kintsugi and Odyssey also taking a 3-0. So very, very one-sided play so far in this group stage. Definitely our 2CP versus TSG Team Mist being the closest of the games. How do you feel about this match coming up here, Mish, between Risen and Overwatch Cubs?
I mean, I think, you know, both teams have gone, they've got a lot behind them. You know, Risen, you know, they've got really aggressive tank lineups. Like, you know, it's South African players, for some reason, we all play aggressive. And they're having that tank lineup that if you can make space with that, to shut that down is ridiculously difficult. You know, Overwatch Cubs, they've beaten Risen before, which is, you know, something you need. Like, it doesn't mean they're going to beat them again, but it's something to consider. You know, they have had the experience with this team. They know how to play against them. But they've gone through a couple of changes. Overwatch Cubs, you know, they have, you know, there've been changes now. Now you need to worry, like, is there good cohesion? Have they got the team back to the space where they need to be in order to beat Risen? So I think it's going to come down to a lot more factors than just, you know, can you click heads better than the other team? It's going to be a lot more about communication, ult management. It's going to come down to making less mistakes that, you know, you can be punished on. So I think it's going to be a close game. I hope it's a close game. I don't know. I hope it's not a 3-0 for any team. So I honestly, I don't know if I don't have a favorite in any of these teams. Honestly, I think it comes down to who can make the least amount of mistakes.
Doesn't it always, I must admit. And I like what you say about the aggressive tank nature in South Africa. In South Africa, you kind of train that you hit the other guy back first. You know, you've got to just like predict when something's coming and just be like, not today, taxi driver. But Blur, how do you feel like this is going to work in this matchup? We saw in the first round where Stalker did such a good job in that main tank position as Winston to get into the back line, to cause chaos, to just cause havoc there. And it just came down to who initiated the fight first.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good way of looking at it. This team that initiates first, and I think more importantly, initiates cleaner. Initiates, you know, so that the team can follow up on it, can kind of execute a little bit cleaner, is the team that generally wins the fights in these situations. And we saw it from 2CP in the first round. They initiated cleaner a lot. They took good fights, and the times that they didn't was when TSG started playing to disrupt that initiation. They started playing that Roadhog. So I think very much this Risen Cubs game, very much going to come down to something very similar. You know, we're going to see them, it's going to come down to which team can initiate cleaner. And, you know, Risen's aggressive tank line could be the thing that offers that distinction. But at the same time, it could also mean that it leaves too many gaps behind them. It leaves too many gaps for Cubs to exploit.
You know, one of the things that we talk about when we go to teams that are slightly lower seeded, these two teams have come in both from the Challenger Division ranked as Risen as ranked 12th and Cubs as seeded as 13th. So, you know, these guys might not be as polished on some of their plays, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that translates into how cleanly they initiate and how cleanly they engage. And most importantly, or very, very importantly at least, is their ult economy. We saw some really good ult usage in the previous matchup, and that's something that often comes down to dictate the way a match goes. So Blur, in terms of what do these guys want to be trying to do? Do you hold on to that ult for a slightly better time, a perfect storm kind of setup, or do you just try and get the best ult usage you can in any particular fight?
Well, I think there's a bit of a danger with holding ults too long, especially in a meta. We've seen a lot of Winston Zaya coming out very early in this. And I think especially in this meta where you're looking at things that aren't always going to be together. You know, you're looking at that grab as something that, you know, if you were playing Goats, for example, you'd be looking for the big grab. But if you're playing this, you're looking, grab something you can kill, grab something that's secure. You don't have to look for the biggest, best ult. You have to look for something that's effective and helps your team win team fights. Because if you win the team fight, it doesn't matter whether the grab was like a six-man grab. It just matters that it worked.
Yeah, definitely two people at any stage being killed at the beginning of a team fight then turns into a 6v4. And then you can certainly do it, and especially if you're building up those ults very quickly. Nish, do you think we're going to see a lot of ults coming in to sway these fights, or is it going to turn to more of that just who can win the neutral fight going forwards?
I think it'll come down to, if I'm honest, like if you have like on Overwatch Cup side, they have Minitake as their like one of their standout DPS players. I think it'll come down to, can you get a pick early on in the game, and can you capitalize on it? Can you do something with it? If you pick off one of their healers, can you push on that? Like, can you make the fight work in your favor where you don't need to win it with an ultimate? Like Blur's saying, you don't need to get a 6-man ult in order to win that fight. It's about how you make the smaller. You don't have to get like 100. You don't have to get the most amazing value out of an ultimate, as long as you get enough value to make the team fight work. So I think it's going to be a combination of getting a pick early on, punishing like maybe someone's bad positioning or making an aggressive positioning work, and then moving on that, either getting another pick or swaying the team fight to the point where you're like, we can commit one ult here. We only need one ult. Win that fight, and then like stack, what are we going to use next round? What are we going to use in the next fight? And especially something like ult rotations, that is a huge thing to consider. If you can get that right, you can run over the enemy ults economy really quickly. So I think, as Blur is saying, just, don't use ults for the sake of getting a 6-man. Use it for the fact that you can win that team fight with it.
And of course, overcommitting ults there being such a problem, especially with it being so staggered now, with the way that team fights are initiating, the fact that we see team fights breaking off into smaller little clusters and brawls. It can be very interesting and very detrimental if you think that you're going to win the team fight by getting 3 people into a grav and then having that only be half the story, whereas the rest of your team is falling. You may get 2 or 3 people out of that grav, but the rest of your team is now flattened in the back line. You turn around on Zarya, you're the last man standing. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams go with that. If we take a look now at the rosters coming out from both of these teams, Overwatch Cubs coming in seeded 13th, has got some big names that they're going to go into. They've got their very aggressive tank lineup, sometimes too overly aggressive, where they try and initiate without awareness of the rest of their team coming through, led by Snapperhead and Cena on those 2 tanks in the beginning. They've got Zen Master and Minitake, the standout DPS in Minitake, who's come through as an incredible Hanzo player. And then your 2 supports coming through are Restless Flames and Scars. So, Blur, any insight that you've seen from this team from what little we have seen of them on stream?
The very big note we have to make about this team is the replacement of their main tank. Savania obviously going to TSG as a sub there. So Snapper now coming in to fill that main tank role, playing alongside Cena. It's very kind of challenging to switch main tanks, and especially coming into like the highest pressure point of the season. So kind of how they transition there is gonna be quite important. It's gonna affect how they engage, because main tank is the thing that determines how you're engaging a fight. Obviously, Minitake a very massive standout, and very much I think it's gonna be a story of what we can see out of him today. I know he hates it when people point him out, but at the end of the day, he's that good a player. He's that good a player that we have to be considering him as an impact player when we look at this team. Then Mecha Bunny, if I'm not mistaken, Slick has taken his place in the core for today, but we'll have to see there. Either way, they both have a pretty good grasp of the hit scan role. I think we'll be seeing a little bit of that out of them. Some Tracer, some Ashe coming into this game. Restless Flame and Scars. Scars known for his Ana specifically. Struggled at certain points of the season, but I think, just pumping that healing into his front line is gonna just he just has to give them time. The team just has to have time. They excel in the longer fights. They excel when they give themselves time to find opportunities. And him and Flame are quite good at finding those spaces for them to be able to.
It's interesting that you say that they dominate in the longer fights, especially considering their star DPS Minitake is known especially for the Hanzo and the Echo, both of those with great pick potential. So, Mish, how do you feel that Hanzo and Echo specifically as his 2 best heroes fit into the current scene and the current meta?
I think, you can make, everyone hates playing against an Echo that gets a lot of value. She's that burst damage quick. If she lands those right clicks, those orbs on you, there goes an Ana. There goes, like, if you get that pick off early, same with Hanzo. They got very big pick potential. But, if you're playing into something, if a Hog lands a hook on either one of your Hanzo, because he's aggressive positioning, like, I'm not sure how he positions. If he's a very aggressive Hanzo player, which most Hanzo players are, they don't really sit in the back line and shoot from behind. They kind of want to be in the front line getting that pick. If your positioning gets punished because of you playing those heroes, that's a one shot to a Hog. It same thing goes as, if there's a Hanzo on the other team or a Widow or whatever, by picking your aggressive positioning off or like countering it, making sure you have to play a lot different to what you're used to. I think he might get a bit frustrated if it gets shut down. If you are, made to play into the enemy team and how they want you to play, that can cut off your flow and how you're used to or you're comfortable playing the game. I think, if that gets shut down, either he'll have to, realize this and sort of like switch off or change something or go with slightly more meta or change things around. But I still think, knowing how good he is and how much of it sort of like stand out, he could probably make it work regardless. As when we used to play, sometimes you just go with your comfort pick and you make that comfort pick work because you're so comfortable with it. So I don't see him changing too often, but I think he'll stick with the Hanzo more than the Echo, I think. I think Echo you need a bit more consistency, maybe a bit more shield break, maybe something to punish Reinhardt, because them having Cubs having a new tank now. If your tank is a bit normal nowhere, you don't have cover to sit behind. You can punish that so quickly. So I think he'll be okay. I think those two comfort picks for him will work out.
I love comfort picks. We've seen a lot of people just trying to make something like a Roadhog work in the current meta, and if you don't know how to play it or something like that, it can be very difficult. On the other side, we have ADG Risen coming through with their lineup. The people going to be responsible for making space for them is going to be Bubbles and Unreal Nick on that tank lineup. The people who are going to have to duel out those duels in the DPS roles is going to be Lime Oros and Sargeros, and Broke Folly and Dragon Wolf coming through as our two supports for this. And so, any standout players from this side, Mish, that you know of?
Honestly, I think that once again, I think it was, their tanks again, right? Their tanks are ridiculously like aggressive. So I'm gonna say their tank lineup, if they can go with that and they can make sure, Bubbles and Unreal Nick, if they can like take space and punish the enemy Rhine or punish the enemy main tanks and play that aggressive role, but to the best of their ability, they make space for everyone. It's like a happy circle. Your tanks make space for your DPS keep your supports alive, your supports make space for your tanks, and it's just that circle will keep going. I think keeping that aggressive sort of lineup will do well for them, but they need to be able to adapt. So I want to see if Bubbles and Unreal Nick will be able to adapt to maybe playing slower, playing a bit further back. So I'm going to put it basically to their tank lineup that I think I guess will be the pace determinator. They'll determine how quickly, how fast, how they're going to approach situations. So I'm going to put it on Bubbles and Unreal Nick.
It's going to be interesting to see how these teams do manage their pacing of it, the tempo of it. From Cubs, we've got Scars, the support, who's actually their captain. And whereas for Risen, we've got actually the two DPS taking on that mantle of leadership. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to determine it now. So, Blur, when it comes to determining that sort of pace, you've got both teams very keen to throw bodies at the other ones, especially their tank lineups. Do you play your own game and just try and throw your body harder at the opponent team? Just try and overwhelm them by you playing a better tank or creating more space? Or do you try and initiate it slightly earlier, not give them the chance to really leap off into your back line at all? Or do you just try and sit back knowing that that first attack is coming? We talked about the fact that you should be the one to initiate. When you know that the other team has got such a predictable initiation, though, how much does that play into your strategy?
Well, I mean, if you understand how the team is going to want to set up for the initiation, what you can do is you can bait it. You can shape so that when they dive you kind of surround them and collapse on the things they engage you with. Especially in this Winston Zarya meta, that's something that's they're very vulnerable to. That's very kind of possible. And I think very much that you can catch out a Winston a lot. We saw it happening to Stalk on Hanamura and on Blizzard World in the early stages with that Roadhog. And Roadhog's like a kind of key display of this is that you've got this hero that exists for exactly that purpose, that if something initiates too aggressively, it punishes it. So if you know a team is going to do that, you can bait it and punish it. But I think in terms of these teams, I think it'll be kind of it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to actually kind of read. I think ADG will be more keen to lean into that aggressive playstyle because it is what they practice. But I think, from the side of Cubs, maybe we see a little bit of micromanagement of the game. They're going to try and read what the team is throwing at them and try and counter as they go. I think ADG will be a little bit more comfortable in what they have because their roster stayed consistent, and Cubs might be thinking, let's see if we can exploit the gaps we know exist already.
All right, so we've got two teams, one with a bit of a change in roster, that tank lineup, so pivotal in the way that you engage your team fights. The other one, Risen, very stable, very happy, coming in this with a slightly lower momentum base behind them. They did lose the previous matchup between these two teams in the second leg of the ATK Challenger Series. Let's get some predictions going. Blur, you were the one who went last time, and you got it right in that previous one. So how do you feel about this matchup going into it?
I think it's a very strange matchup. I think if Cubs don't hit the momentum in the early stage, they might find themselves mentally boomed. And I think Risen are a little bit consistent and played really well towards the tail end of the Challenge Division. So I think I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for Risen here.
Always with the 3-1, I like it. It's just like one team's better, but not like perfect. It's so
safe.
Especially, it's very safe. I mean, considering especially how many different map types that we're going through all of them. It gives the other team some opportunity to get through that. Obviously, we've got our set map pool. Mish, how are you feeling about this matchup?
I don't know. Like again, I think I agree with Blur. It's a weird matchup. I think it's going to be close. I think it comes down to can Risen do really well with their aggressive tank lineup, but can Overwatch Cubs make the space for their like star DPS? But I'm gonna go with Blue on this and be safe, and I think it's gonna go 3-1 Risen, maybe 3-2.
Oh wow! So you're also hedging your bets, definitely given Cubs an opportunity there to bring back something themselves. I have to favor Risen as well. I got to cast a match of Cubs previously this week, and their tank lineup had a tendency to overcommit, and so it's going to be interesting. If Risen can recognize that they either need to bait it out or they need to swamp onto Miniteg and shut that down, I believe that they could take it 3-0. So that's the way to do it. If they don't recognize that, though, if we see Miniteg unpunished, if we see them not being punished for that overcommitted dive, I think that Cubs might actually dive in much faster and dictate the pace of their game themselves. If they do it, then I can actually see Cubs taking it 3-2. So like a very wide base between those two. So I'm going to think, I'm hosting the panel. I get away with doing stuff like this. I'm either going with 3-2 to Cubs or a complete sweep where Risen takes this 3-0. All right, guys. Well, we're only going to figure this out when we get into it. We've got Sun Phoenix and Miru waiting for us in the casting panel after this break. So don't go anywhere where we see our second matchup for the day for Group D. It's going to be Overwatch Cubs versus Risen. Don't go anywhere.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The panel broke it on down for us. They seem to be falling on the side of a 3-0, 3-1 victory for Risen. My name is Sun Phoenix. I'm joined by Miru. Now, Miru, you made a bit of a noise. You scoffed a little bit. You don't agree with the panel?
No, I don't think. I mean, I disagree and agree, but my faith is more in towards of Cubs. So I'm really hoping that they can sort of pull it together and Minitake can have the space that he needs and I think deserves to be respected out in the field, and then he can sort of clutch and come through for the W.
Yeah, key to that is obviously going to be snap ahead on that main tank. Now, Miru, you and I have had the pleasure of watching Cubs do a couple of scrims in the off time. We won't leak anything, any details about what they were doing, but what we can say is that snap ahead needed a bit of work. Let's put it that way. He looked a bit out in the lurch, and the normal disclaimer with main tanks is it's not always so easy to tell where the problem is coming from. But he's going to be a key player to watch, like with Stalker in the previous series. I think Snaphead is going to be a critical player. On the other side as well, Bubbles on that main tank role, and now the key player for ADG Risen. So going to be interesting to see. And again, the story always around Cubs is how do you deal with Minitake? Do you give him too much space? He's able to dominate the game, or are you going to be able to shut him down? And that's going to be key to Risen taking the game today. Our first map, as usual, though, is Oasis. Now, we saw some interesting stuff in the previous match, Miru. We saw some Winston Diva, we saw some Winston Zarya. What do you think these two teams are going to show today?
I think it'll be sort of similar footing. I think with Bubbles playing main tank, though, I don't know too much whether or not he's a good sort of Winston player. I know that he plays Ryan quite a bit. But I haven't really seen his Winston play, so I'm hoping to see it come out here and see if he can make a big impact. But I guess we'll have to wait and see going up against Snap ahead. Cena too as well. I mean, we saw him and again, not to leak, but he's been pretty confident on the off tank role. So yeah.
So looking at what we're running out with right now, Winston Zarya as we predicted for ADG Risen. Cubs though, running something a little bit different to seeing them running the Ryan Zarya. We saw a little bit of that in the previous series, Stalker and Vertigo running that a little bit, but we've got Minitake on that Hanzo, and that's going to be critical. A critical hero for Cubs. If they can make Minitake work, give him the space he needs to perform, they can take this one. If not, I think Risen, on paper, the stronger of these two teams, given the recent changes.
Yeah, no, you might be right for that, but I think we'll all leave it up to the players that are about to come out here, and when they interact, we'll see the teams go ahead on and see what value they can get with the picks that they've taken.
Well, so far just staging a little bit here, getting set up on the high ground. Interesting choice by Cubs not to go for that high ground contest, instead going to get set up on the low ground here behind the pagoda in the middle. Now Bubbles going to use this moment just to get aggressive, put the pressure on the front line, just playing safe, in and out of the team fight, bit of guerrilla tactics. This is what you need to see out of the squad versus the more broader composition that Cubs is showing. And it's working perfectly so far, but oh, that's a big anti-heal. A lot of damage coming through, and now the kills start to come through. An explosion of energy, a quick primal rage coming out of Bubbles, and that's going to allow Risen to clean things up for the first team fight on City Center.
Yeah, I mean, Bubbles was just never really shut down at all. I mean, himself and Segros were the only ones really getting a lot of ult charge, along with Broke Party with really crucial nades. But Bubbles is standing there. They need to pressure him down a lot harder than they are. And I think with Slick moving on to the Reaper, they might be able to do that now.
Well, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Reaper not a hero we've seen a lot of recently into favor the Ashe and Tracer and Sombra, those kind of heroes. That's a big anti-heal over the top as Sagas looks to put the damage in on the Tracer. He has a pulse bomb available. Does he throw it out here? Yes, he does. Gets a stick as well. So Snap ahead gonna drop nice and early here, leaving his team a bit in the lurch. But with Lime Urus hitting the deck as well, things have been evened up. But the HP clearly favoring the blue squad is here as they clean things up. Bubbles and Sagros working together perfectly to end Overwatch Cubs push. It's just Cena on the point, and he's not long for this world. They will push them back.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's just another sign of just really clean and crucial play from Bubbles out on the Winston, who I'm happy to see has been playing really well but also attested to the fact that they've given him so much space to just live and exist, and you know, be in harassment and you know, get in and then get out so quickly. You know, maybe the switch up on the main tanks needs to happen here for the Cubs.
Strange defensive bubble there. Has Zenmaster now under a ton of pressure, dropping low. But Bubble's dropping early might spell the end of this team fight as Minitech finds Lime Horus as well. Graviton Surge trying to recoup this team fight, and it might just have done that as Unreal Nick finds one, but Slick gonna get rid of him. Saga is still messing around, and this is all in favor of Risen as the point ticks up in their favor. Saga is finding a double towards the end of this. Pulse Bomb won't find anything on this occasion, but it's just Minitech and Snapperhead left, and Snapperhead on a sliver of HP goes down with the ultimate in the bag there, and Minitech dropping as well. So Boostio, I heard someone call the Spotify Premium the other day, which I thought was hilarious. But it's not going to help them win this game. As Dragon Wolf not gonna boost it up, he's going to pick up a double kill. Unreal Nick going to clean up here. The Graviton Surge, too little too late. You'd have to think Asagras gets rid of Cena before he finds any value with that. A Dragon Strike from Spawn from Minitech won't find anything just yet, and the stall is not going to work out. The Shadow finally comes out, but a celebratory Dragon Strike or Dragon Blade gonna look to clean things up a little bit. Minitech being a nuisance on that Hanzo, but I don't think he's gonna find any value. He's gonna have to come out clutch, and yeah, goes down straight away. Ball in, Lucio in now. Not gonna contribute anything, I don't think, as Sagras and Co look to clean things up. Almost had another pulse bomb here for the Tracer. The Hamster goes down. The Lucio, the only one remaining, and he will hit the deck. Limeros picking himself up a double. This is a very long stall. The stick comes out. The Diva, D-Mech, the sound barrier comes in as well. So lot committed to this team fight, but it's just a matter of cleanup for ADG Risen. Doomfist now from Minitech, the last hope of Cubs. As I say that though, Cena gets the last touch in. So if you could win a game based purely off stall, I think Overwatch would be in the running. Overwatch Cubs, but unfortunately Risen just too strong on this occasion.
You know, they're looking really clean, really polished, ADG. But you know, I think if you're Cubs right now, I think you need to sort of identify the flaws in your comp, and I think that's, you know, with Minitech playing Hanzo, but there's no one to really pocket and support him. You know, the Mercy isn't there to allow him to, you know, put in as much damage as he can possibly, especially against a tank like Bubbles, who's sort of face tanking, you know, 1v6 a lot of the fights, just using his bubble to split, but there's no one else with him aside from the Surgas. But you know, and I think on top of that, Snapperhead also really needs to pick up his game. The Rhine really didn't have a lot of value, and there wasn't any positive traits in the comp, you know, that they're running. So I hope that the switch that they've made here onto the Pharah might give them a little bit of value.
Now they've also switched Snapper onto the Winston now, so a bit more of a normal look out of Overwatch Cubs. For Gardens here, looking to control this high ground up, but Risen
like, look at Bubbles.
This could be a boop. Does he find anything? It doesn't look like it, but he can put so much pressure in from the high ground. They find a double kill. Finally, Cubs getting some value out of these team fights as they find a third. Unreal Nick commits his body to the void, and Cubs gonna take control for the first time on Gardens.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch, I mean, aside from Minitech putting in the damage, Bubbles just sort of walked in there, you know, very nonchalantly into the team, cleaving all of them. You know, he's 50% to his primal already, and that was just due to the fact that he was in, got his cleave, put his bubble down, you know, asked the Unreal Nick for a bubble, and just cleaved through. But he got punished, and that's what I want to see. I want them to punish this aggression coming in from Bubbles right now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a key to Overwatch winning, is how can you shut down Bubbles. You talk about Minitech on the one side, but the key player is really Bubbles on the other side. Speaking of Minitech though, he's working his way towards this barrage. He's moving around like he's got it. They have not spotted him out. They are not countering him at all. As I say that, he moves in, puts the damage in. Doesn't find any kills though, dropping a bit low as he looks to put the damage over the top and build his way up towards that rocket barrage. Ooh, Bubbles taking a lot of damage and needs to be careful. They have switched over to the Devo on the side of Risen, but getting rid of Minitech could be critical here. He does get rest back in, but he can't afford to have that happen again. Bubbles going down though. That is a big problem. Cena finds barrage. Minitech finds a double in the form of the Diva and Lime Oros. So a difficult start or the Overwatch Risen that comes out on top. Oh, sorry, Overwatch Cubs that comes out on top.
Yeah. No, I like the play there. Minitech going uncontested is a bit unfortunate if you're on the Risen side. You know, Segaras really needs to just sit a little bit further back, have a full scope of the way Cubs are playing. Really pick out the style that he's playing. Is he playing around corners? Is he playing in the open? Being really over aggressive and nonchalant with his mercy pocket, so you can really get the pickoffs and take a bit of an angle on him.
This is the second time we've seen. Oh, Soccerus turns on a dime and deletes Slick out of the game with a headshot from the Viper. He throws the bob in as well to secure another kill. Lime is going to pick up the main tank. Soccerus popping off on this team fight. Mini take on the one side, somebody you need to watch out for. But in terms of DPS, Soccerus has been a standout player for ADG Risen. Now just looking to clean up the last remaining stragglers of the Overwatch Cubs. They'll do just that. Bubbles picking himself up a double to close things out. And that's going to be the point flipped for ADG Risen.
Yeah, I think, you may have lost it and it's gone to 99, so you're not too upset about that. But also look at the ults you have off. You've got the Grav, Barrage combo, maybe even the Pulse combo if Barrage gets shut down. And then you've even got Snaphead to sort of split the team apart, maybe even stall out and maybe get a few clutch kills with the Primal, as well as the Coalescence, which can just be yeeted in there, for Pierce. If needed to be. But Nano Blade is what you're looking for Risen. How are they going to come through this? How are they going to play this? Will Cubs wait it out patiently, just play for the stall, or will they commit fully?
Well, we're going to wait and see here. Snapperhead jumps in very aggressively. He has the Primal Rage. Should he need to commit it to keep himself alive? Oh, that's a big pulse bomb. Slick finds himself a double. The former Calypso main tag showing that he's no slouch on the DPS either. As Overwatch Cubs come out swinging, you asked the question, how would they approach this team fight? Well, they approached it very aggressively, found the kills they needed. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up. That's a celebratory Graviton Surge. They need to kill this Valking Mercy. They will do just that.
Nanoblade?
Now should get some store. Here comes the Nanoblade though. As you mentioned, Miru, looking to take some heroes out. They find one. He's so low. Mini take will end his life. Looks now to clean the Ana up. He'll do just that. The bomb, ooh, that looked a bit dangerous, but the self-destruct won't find any value here, unfortunately, for Unreal Nick, who's now demech'd, who's now taken down. Still the storm coming through though, and the Primal Rage now back in the mix. So Bubbles might try and buy some time for his team. Somehow find Slick in the melee here as they look to kill this Lucio. It's just lucky now, but Bubbles finds another one. What is happening here? Could this be the disaster that we didn't want to see? Overwatch Cubs need to clean up. Good combination there. The bubble to secure the resurrection helps bring Slick back into the mix here, but they're dropping like flies. Risen actually coming back into this Overwatch Cubs. What's going on? Slick is almost back at another pulse bomb. He might look to get rid of one of the tanks here. See if he does choose to commit. He needs to be careful not to get punched out, but kills. Blue in the kill feed. Lime Oros with a double kill on the Doomfist. Miru, what just happened? Oh, Miru, we've lost him a little bit here. I'll keep talking for now then. Risen just somehow swinging that back. Cubs not cleaning up, not putting it together when it mattered most. We really should be moving on to University now and seeing what they could offer there, but somehow Risen just putting it together when it mattered most. Showing that zeal that we saw from them in stage 2 against teams like Ladon and Overclocked. And yeah, coming back in now for the aggression is Cubs. We saw them initiate so well last time, but that's a bad start. We need to press Q to die, unfortunately, as Unreal Nick takes his scalp. The rest comes through, and they kill Limo. So all of a sudden, things have been evened up here, but that Bob from Sargeras securing the kill into Restless Flame might be the key that unlocks this team fight for Risen. Cena gets the return kill, but otherwise it's all blue in the kill feed, and Overwatch Cubs, after an incredible start, it all falls apart on Gardens. 99-0, recouped completely as Snapperhead works his way back in now. They're going to try for one last hurrah here. Can they get back in? Can they repeat what Risen were able to do? This Valkyrie comes in, Restless Flame. She's going to look for the res here onto Snapperhead and does find it, but they've lost their other support now. Stargirl's dropping low, won't get taken down. The Coalescence and keep him alive. As I say that though, goodbye Stargirl. Snapperhead has joined the party now, swinging away. Graviton Surge comes out as well. They might actually do this, Miru. Overwatch Cubs are actually going to bring this team fight back. These teams so back and forth, nobody winning the team fight. Never say never, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And Overclocked will fit, or Overwatch Cubs will flip the point and will secure the map win.
I mean, I was gonna really harshly critique the Cubs for just really sloppy and poor target focus. I mean, something that should really be, a little bit more dialed in, if you're playing as a team and, having someone, who calls that target, over and over again. And I know it might be a little bit tougher considering that I had this main tank swap, come in with Sniper coming in. But I'm glad they came in clutch in the end, pulled it together, and came through with the map win on there. And I mean, moving to University, I think it's going to be a big MTD battle between Bubbles and Snapperhead.
Yeah.
And looking at Nick and Cena, the fact that it's Zarya versus D.Va, I really need Cena to farm energy as much as he can and play to just deal in the damage.
That is gonna be
Snapper.
Yeah, Snapper gets cut off from his team there, gets taken down as Bubbles picks himself up a double, make that a triple in fact, give him all 6 maybe. Unreal Nick's gonna stop that, nip that one in the bud, contribute in his own way, but that's a pretty strong start for Risen on University.
No, 100%. I mean,
some squats.
Oh, yeah, man's a little, his glutes are a little bit tight there. You need to stretch them out. No, but I think it just goes up to the timing of the way they're playing, and I really think they need to read into the fight before Cubs initiates and they know what they're coming into. I like this rotation though.
Oh, but they're under a lot of pressure. The Shatter comes out, gets rid of one, and now he can just swing completely uncontested. Cubs, like, just into the grinder there, and Risen's gonna eat them up.
Yeah, I actually really like the way they're playing this. It sort of makes me reminisce of the style and pace that Goats was played at. And I think they're playing this exceptionally well and getting a lot of value, with heroes that I didn't think they would originally, being the Moira and the Lucio and even the D.Va. So I'm really loving the pace and the style of which they're playing this.
Absolutely. Looking over the top here. What is he doing? Why is he jumping into them? Unreal Nick finds Snapperhead, who's dropping early in all of these team fights. A few ults committed here are going to clean things up very quickly. Is Minitech even going to find his kill? No, he's not. Unreal Nick going to put the Matrix over his face and really ensure Risen are untouched on University so far.
No, 100%. I think with the way they're playing there, and this might even come to Final Fight territory if they play this and take long enough. But Minitech really needs to get an off angle. He needs to not play with his team. Needs to go off and sort of get the different poke to force, the resources from D.Va to split from Rein, and then you put the pressure onto Reinhardt. But, I mean, with the ults coming up for AGD Risen, it's not looking good for Cubs.
Yeah,
ooh, stun!
Oh no, stunned out of the... Oh my god, from bad to worse from Overwatch Cubs. They'll finally secure a kill here onto Sargeras, but I mean, it's too little too late here with 95% on the clock. Overwatch Cubs won't be able to throw anything into this one. They throw the bomb over the top to pick one off. The ball won't get the touch, and ADG Risen will secure themselves the map win on Oasis.
Yeah, no, that is quite a decisive victory. All for at least Gardens, which was quite an interesting wrap-up and showed that, they have a lot of potential when they're not forced into this Reinhardt play. Because, seen right here, Bubbles is straight farming. They're crops, man. It's the agriculture is out here, and he's got the scythe, and he's just cutting them down and mowing them. Yeah. I mean, I think his performance speaks for himself and the sort of style that he knows how to play and knows how to get value from. So I think Cubs need to sort of take a step back and think about a different playstyle that'll get them a lot more value than I think the sort of Reinhardt, close brawl style gives them.
Yeah, they seem to be falling on Snaphead's Ryan quite a bit, and he really struggled on University to find any value. I mean, you talk about the dichotomy there, Bubbles versus Snaphead, sorry, in that Reinhardt battle on University was just completely one-sided, dominant. And Minitech, we spoke about his Hanzo and how critical that was going to be to Overwatch Cubs actually finding any value when they've really struggled to get anything out of that Hanzo. Do you think that's going to be an issue going forward? Do you think the Hanzo pick is valuable? Or do you think they need to start trying some different looks like we saw the Pharah on Gardens work really well for them?
Yeah, I think some different routes need to be taken when it comes to, deciding what heroes you want to play. But I think it's also very important to identify the strengths in your teammates and the heroes that they play, and working the rest of the comp around it. Which that's what they're doing. That's what they were doing when they were on in Gardens, when Minitech was enabled by playing Pharah. The rest of his team could actually follow suit, and it became a question of, do we focus Miniteg or do we focus the rest of the team? Because you know the guy's putting in work, and you know if you don't respect him, he'll get the value and he'll punish you. So you know I think it's like the argument we had, or like the discussion that we had when we were talking about the way the team should be put together, and it needs to be focused around enabling Miniteg and getting value off him.
Yeah, no, I think that is definitely critical, and so far he's not been finding that value at all. Something interesting to notice about Cubs as well, Scar is not playing for the squad. They've got Dragon Wolf in, or rather they've got Master in instead. An unusual pick because Scars is the captain of this team. He's quite a significant leadership figure. He's one of the 3 brothers on this team. I'm surprised to see him not actually in the starting lineup today. Now, no other changes happening here. Of course, Risen have a solid 6 that they always run pretty much. Moving on to Route 66 though. Now, we saw TSG really struggle to find value on this map. We also saw how critical the hit scan, the long range hit scan, the Ashe and the Widowmaker was on this map. Do you think that's going to be a key again here? Or do you think the effect that the Hanzo have is going to shake things up a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same issue. It's going to be Sagras versus Miniteg, who's not going to be playing the hit scan, but he's going to take on that role and sort of get enabled by his team. And I think when we were watching scrims, I mean, it's more not leaks, but it's just sort of attested to what we're trying to prove to the point here, is that you need Miniteg to be able to have the space that he needs to focus on either taking the 1v1s or poking down the squishies and tanks. And I think deciding on what his job is going to be, that is the sort of style that they need to play around. So there's less aggro play, and like here they're picking the Zarya Hog, so it's going to be about getting single pickoffs. Slick has to take the 1v1s if he's going up against Sagras and Ashe, and Miniteg I think will have to just poke down the rest and try and get the get a 6k essentially.
Yeah, because not to put all your eggs in one basket or anything. Of course, the rest of Overwatch clubs have to work hard to make sure Miniteg has that space. So you mentioned it. We're looking at the Roadhog Zarya, an unusual composition on paper, but kind of one we were expecting to see a lot more than we actually have, I think.
Yeah, no, this is the comp meta currently in the Overwatch ranked. I mean, Limros has gone to the, I was about to say to the Sombra, which would have been interesting, and I think a lot of value, but now Sagras and the Widow as well. The Widow Genji with the Mercy Pocket, or now to Lucio. I think they're
figuring things out, man. We're making our life very hard.
I mean, I think we'll just see the way this plays out. I think Bubbles is quite easily punishable with this comp, and so is Sagras if you time the splitting and the initiation with Bubbles, and there it is exactly right there with the pickoff.
Yeah, that is what this team is built around, kind of making that hog work. Hook comes in, gets rid of the Genji, and that's pretty much all said and done for this team fight. They've got to wait for him to come back now. Oh,
is that a good
another hook comes in. A good re-angle there as well to help secure that kill. Bubbles is in the backline. He finds the carry. He finds Miniteg. There's no res available, and that's going to force Cubs back a little bit.
Yeah, it should force them back. They don't seem to be retreating so much. They're putting a lot of faith on Cena to really get these picks off.
Yeah.
But I really think they should be, just regressing their stance right now and their positioning.
Oh, Hook comes in again, doesn't find anything. A Primal Rage built up once again. This has been typical of Bubbles' play, getting this quick Primal Rage and using it effectively. He's taking a brief nap there, but has arisen once again to put the pressure on the back line, but he's going to bail out now. Did a decent amount of damage to buy his team that space, and now they're moving the cart quite effectively around the corner. Eventually Bubbles will hit the deck, but I think he's given his team enough space to find value. With Slick goes down, Miniteg fires back straight away though, as the nano boosted Roadhog moves forward, thanks in no small part to Zen Master here, and Cubs will hold firm for now. Another hook. This Roadhog is playing so well. Cena putting his team on his back here. We've been hyping up Miniteg so much, and as I say that, he finds that headshot. But Cena, he's been the standout performer on Route 66 so far.
100%. I think it's also, with the Roadhog rework, he really just gets the value of the hook, which wasn't really something that could be enabled from his previous patch. With the amount of damage he does and reworking the sort of hook to angle it into those single out targets, I think he's getting a lot of value here, and I think this blade might do the same thing.
Oh yes, Blade looks good. They do counter with the sound barrier here, but a big anti-heal gonna cut off some of that just a little bit. Limorus will pick up a double kill when it's all said and done, but Minitake is still around and the hook is good, but a beautiful bubble gonna keep Limorus very healthy.
Mini!
This Hanzo, he finds the carry, putting his team on the back once again. He's got the Dragon Strike now, should he choose to use it, but he might not even have to. Another headshot, make that 4, a one-man wrecking ball. Minitake just carried that one through for Overwatch Cups.
That man is a monster. I don't even think he needs to be stopped. What a freak of nature this guy is. I mean, to get away with that, and all headshots, by the way, can I just add?
Yeah, all
disgusting play. My God, man.
Oh, speaking of disgusting, a Venn diagram of Graviton surges. You don't see that very often, but one team had the Dragon Strike. Minitake, again, the difference maker, this time using his ultimate. A sloppy fight or a messy fight, perhaps, as both teams commit a lot of ultis, but at the end of it all, Overwatch Cup still standing firm.
Oh God, I'm still like a bit stunned, you know. It got my heart racing. You know, it gives me that same feeling when I watch those really tight L games. Look at him!
Oh my goodness!
Stop!
Another one!
Stop!
Another one hits the deck here. Sagras gonna have to think about his actions from the comfort of his spawn room as Minitake is popping off on Route 66. Is he gonna find more here? He's getting aggressive. He knows what.
Oh my Lord!
One. The hook's finally gonna shut him down. Bubbles has to take matters into his own hand, but the anti-heal
such a good hook.
It's gonna make it so difficult for them to push through. Slick finds Bubbles. Limorus hits the deck, and it's just the ball left on the point. Although Limorus is playing Genji in the background here, he does go down eventually. Zen Master getting rid of the pesky ninja, and it's just the ball remaining. Unreal Nick, he has to buy time for his team to get back, but Snap Ahead gonna make short work of the ball. Anna taken down, and Overwatch Cubs have come back to control Route 66 completely.
Can I just say that y'all didn't respect it, alright? I'm gonna go with that number one. Y'all didn't believe, y'all lacked the faith, and for that, you guys have lacked the critical information, because that man absolutely single-handedly decimated what was and what should have been a completely lost team fight, you know, for the Cubs. They should have all died, reset, and maybe get in the last second touch, you know, and I think possibly even give them the first point so that they can just have a good high ground advantage with a collective respawn. But, you know, Minitake, you know, you give that man an inch, he'll take the whole damn schoolyard, you know? It's unbelievable. I don't even know what else to say, you know.
We saw Neon in the previous series just absolutely powerful at times, but nothing like what we just saw coming out of Minitake. The dude's Hanzo is just on another level. He won't be reprising that, at least not by the looks of things. Although, no, let's look at the defense rather. We're seeing more of this Roadhog, I think, not surprisingly. Unreal Nick at the moment sitting on the ball, an unusual defense, it has to be said. This reminds me of what we saw the Beasties boys doing, and I mean, that comp made me so sad, and I'm not feeling any better about it in this patch.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this also is like a single pick-off comp, you know. Testing, you know, you go, we focus this person, and that's the sort of one we'll try and get down. And you're sort of playing this sort of individual style of, oh, I'm gonna slam here, hopefully you can get a hook in. You know, it requires less team coordination. And oh my goodness.
My friend, Minitake gets rid of the ball straight off the bat here. Unreal Nick did the same on the other side though, so, or he got rid of Bubbles. Favoring the attacking team as Bubbles finds Zen Master with a beautiful hook here. Cena looking to clean up this road. If we can get rid of this, that might open the floodgates, and we do just that. Cubs pushing forward now, just a few meters left before they get to that golden box victory, and return this to a 1-1 series. Mini over the top. Now Snap Ahead getting in on the mixture, just pressuring the Mercy, finds him eventually. Resurrection did come out, but Slick getting rid of Unreal Nick once again.
Oh no.
It comes out. Minitake press Q to die, so the carry not going to contribute anything anymore, but they need to get onto this point. It's almost there. It's just the Genji taken down.
That's it.
The Overwatch Cubs will take Route 66 and bring us back up to a 1-1.
Yeah, I think we have a moment of silence as I wait to see this you know, god tier play of the game, so I can see it from his eyes. This is what I want to see, you know, and this is what I'm talking about when you you give the man the space to work, and the results are, you know, unfounded. It's ridiculous that he gets away with this. That's two.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the pick on him.
Lord.
Oh my god!
Oh my lord, he just absolutely dominated. That's it though. I've concerns about Risen's awareness. There's a couple of times we've seen DPS get in the backline completely uncontested. We saw Slick on the Tracer on University. We saw Mini take on the Pharah floating over the top of them, and nobody even blinks in his direction. I'm concerned that Risen is not as aware of their flanks as they should be. That said, it is a 1-1 series, so everything to play for as we head into the Hanamura next. But before that, we'll be going on a 2-minute break just to give the teams a little bit of time to recuperate and to give Risen perhaps a bit of a moment to blink the tears out of their eyes after that one. But we will be back in just a moment, guys. Don't go anywhere.